What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and I am not an economist or an investment banker. Heck, to be honest with you, my wife is the one that handles all the finances in our house. But even I know that if I put something on the credit card, we have to pay for it one way or the other. The debt ceiling is a very complicated subject, but here is what's not complicated. As Americans, we pay our bills and take on our obligations, period. The debt ceiling debate is one of the stupidest conversations in the country. How about you speak up while the spending is taking place, not when the bill is due? And just to be clear, this bill, the one we are talking about that has to be paid, is inflated because of Trump's and Moscow Mitch's tax cuts to the wealthy. They cut $3 trillion in taxes from billionaires and corporations. Tax cuts the billionaires themselves didn't even ask for and were actually shocked when they got it.
You're looking live at the Dow, which fell over 600 points this morning after the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, testified on Capitol Hill that inflation would likely get worse, setting up the Fed to potentially raise interest rates sooner than expected and to pull back a bit faster on the buying of assets. Powell was joined by the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who testified about the state of the economy and the importance of raising the debt limit. Her testimony comes as Congress's deadline to raise the debt limit quickly approaches, perhaps mid-December. Perhaps it can go farther, but who knows? There's still only a few more legislative days left in the session before December 15th, the earliest that the U.S. could begin defaulting on its debt. Yellen delivered a dire warning about what could happen if Congress fails to act.
I cannot overstate how critical it is that Congress address this issue. America must pay its bills on time and in full.
Listen to what Chuck Todd said on this subject. He and I are on the same page. Politicians treat debt ceiling like a game of chicken, only it's not. People's livelihoods are at stake, not to mention our financial stability as a nation. You want to see the value of the dollar plummet and the stock market crash, fuel prices soar, the interest rates skyrocket? Those are the repercussions if the United States misses a payment to their creditors. Soldiers need to collect their paychecks so they can provide for their families while they're serving this country. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, soldiers' pay can be delayed if they don't reach an agreement. And I want Moscow Mitch to have to go to a military base, look the soldiers in the eye and explain to them why they may not be getting a paycheck on time. In fact, I would like for someone to take up that legislation and require politicians to have to face the very folks that get hurt the worst. Can you imagine if the coward Ted Cruz had to go to a military base and tell a bunch of angry group of soldiers how he is responsible for them not getting their paychecks? Because that is something that I would absolutely pay to see. And I guarantee you that if we had that as legislation, the debt ceiling would never be an issue ever again. This whole argument is about Republicans trying to make President Biden and the Democrats look bad. Unemployment rates are approaching pre-pandemic levels and the stock market is thriving. Interest rates remain low, and this does not bode well for the Republicans in the upcoming midterms. So they are trying to do what they do best, and that is chaos and destruction. That is, after all, the Republican motto. Democrats build it, and then they tear it down. President Clinton built a thriving economy. Bush wrecked it. President Obama brought it back from the dead, had it soaring again, and along come Trump. Now, President Biden is putting the pieces back, and you see the pattern here, folks? Everyone had better wake up, and they better wake up soon. Sappers clear the way, everyone all the way.